When we first looked at the ID.3 in 2020, only a few versions had been announced, and the one we looked at was the launch first edition. But VW has made a few changes since then, so we thought it was high time we took a second look. So here we have our second take on the Volkswagen ID.3. Let's see if it still stands up. Before we do that though, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Unsurprisingly, the ID.3 looks like a high-tech evolution of the VW Golf, because that is essentially what it is. It's in the hatchback class like the Golf and is about the same size, albeit a centimetre or so wider and a bit taller. We like the way this car looks, a good balance of the futuristic and familiar. The big changes since we last looked at the VW ID.3 is that there are now 5 trim levels, 3 motor powers and 3 battery sizes. However, you can't choose every combination. The trims are Life, Style, Family, Max and Tour. Pure Performance means a 45 kWh battery and 150 PS motor. Pro means a 58 kWh battery and 145 PS motor. Pro Performance, like this one, had the same 58 kWh battery and a 204 PS motor. There's also a Pro S with a 77 kWh battery and the same 204 PS motor. All cars are quite well equipped, with even the Life offering heated folding wing mirrors plus heated seats and steering wheel. There's adaptive cruise, front and rear parking sensors, and a comprehensive safety package on all cars too. You can get this Life trim with Pure Performance Pro and Pro Performance battery and motor combinations. As its name suggests, the Style trim adds mostly cosmetic enhancements, although it does include the parking camera and dual zone climate control. The Style trim is only available with the Pure Performance battery and motor combination. The Family trim adds a panoramic sunroof, but otherwise has a lot in common with Style, except that you can only choose the Pro and Pro Performance drivetrains. Then there's Max, which adds adjustable lumbar support and massage function to the seats. There's a better speaker system and head-up display, plus dynamic chassis control. Pro Performance only for that one. One thing about those wing mirrors, we're not sure why they point the mirror side up when folded. Golfs do this too, and it means the mirrors will get rain stained. The Tour trim is only available with the Pro S drivetrain using the larger battery. This contains most of the features of the Max, but not the chassis control or panoramic sunroof, which we find a curious choice. Are you confused yet? We are too, although all cars are rear-wheel drive, and it's really unfortunate, but VW hasn't actually launched the all-wheel drive version of the ID.3 yet, although it has in Volkswagen Group's SUV versions with this drivetrain. Just to confuse matters, all the features are offered via packs, which you can also add separately to trims that don't have those packs. Most trims come with 18-inch steel wheels as standard, but there are also various 18-inch, 19-inch and 20-inch steel and alloy options. What VW calls Moonstone Grey and we call Battleship Grey is their no-cost, non-metallic colour choice. There are metallic and pearl grey, white, turquoise, blue and silver available for £485 or £645. There's a bi-colour silver option too. Our car is a Pro Performance Life in turquoise, which we find rather fetching. Let's take a look inside. VW has stripped things back considerably with the interior, which is an area of criticism for the ID.3. Either you'll think it's pleasantly minimalist, or you'll find it a bit cheap. There are no leather or even artificial leather upholstery options. Instead, there are 2 cloth options called Fragment and Flow Art Velour. This is the Flow Art Velour option, which is cleaner and comes with a more pronounced 2-tone interior motif. Although the ID.3 is about the same length and width as a Golf A, it is a bit taller and the wheelbase is longer as well, so you get a bit more of a sense of space when you're sitting inside it, with quite a decent amount of headroom in the front. As already mentioned, all cars have heated seats and steering wheel. However, only the Tour and Max trim levels have electronic seat adjustment, and none of them have memory function. Otherwise, seat adjustment is mechanical, as you see here. Both front seats have these adjustable armrests attached, and then underneath you have this cubby, and I hope you can see there it's got 2 USB-C ports inside and quite a lot of space, and a separate space here which you can put your change into. This kind of slot here is for wirelessly phone charging. We really like the fact that these 2 cup holders are designed to accommodate various sizes of drinks, which is quite uncommon actually. There's also this nice little pocket here for you to put your takeaway menus or parking tickets or whatever it is you get. This glove box is reasonably sized, although it's only half width. We thought these pedal designs were for the first edition only, but we really like the fact you have a kind of go and pause button, because obviously you're not going to actually stop in this car, you're just going to pause as your life flows forward. It feels quite spacious here in the back, although we have noticed that the addition of the panoramic sunroof ironically does lower this roof a little bit, so there's a little bit less headroom than we remember from the first edition car that didn't have one. Knee room is really not that bad for a family hatchback, certainly better than a Golf. The middle seat is a bit more generous than in some cars. However, if you don't have a middle seat passenger, you can pull the seat back down and you get this natty little armrest with a couple of cup holders, although these ones don't have the variable size holes that we liked in the front seats. One thing that we find a bit strange with this car is there aren't any rear air conditioning vents, but you do get a couple of USB-C ports for rear passengers. However, we do like the fact that the seat backs have these extra pockets. These may be good for putting your phone in, and then you have one further down here for your kids to keep their copies of Herbie Rides Again, or whatever it is that kids read these days. The two outer rear seats have ISOFIX points, and while the front seats don't have ISOFIX points, they do have this connection at the back for attaching a top tether. So the ID.3 does have a bit more space in the back than the average family hatchback. This is 385 litres, and you have this little extra space underneath here to put your charging cables in, which is very handy. And if you have, this isn't a completely flat boot though, which is going to annoy some people. Now you have this thing here that's quite easy to remove. He said not very easily. There we go. Not that difficult really. I just wasn't strong enough. I'm very weak, getting old. If you drop these seats forward, this gives you 1,267, which is, and you can see it's fairly flat, so it's not a bad boot size. That's more than you get in a Nissan Leaf, which is a direct competitor for this car. It's not a state size, but very good size, and definitely more than you get in a Golf as well. You get hooks on both sides if you want to hang your takeaway on there, and there's also obviously a 12-volt power adapter there as well, so you can put a little fridge or, I don't know, power the electric attachment for a child maybe. We've also noticed that it's got these 4 metal points here, which a fair few cars have, but it's for putting a net on if you want to hold something down in the boot. Another handy addition. We like the fact that when you put the seats back up again, you don't actually have to take the seatbelt out of the way. You've also got this little hole here in the middle of the middle seat for you to put your I don't know, Christmas tree, pogo stick, a very long sausage dog, could all fit through here. So overall, a very practical amount of boot space in the ID.3. One thing that surprisingly this car doesn't have is a frunk. It does have this very small area here full of electronics though. VW has upgraded the charging abilities of the ID.3 since launch, and the range just a little bit. So you get 3 different ranges. The 45 kilowatt hour battery will give you up to 216 miles of WLTP range. The 58 kilowatt hour battery will give you up to 264 miles of range, and that larger 77 kilowatt hour battery will go all the way out to 340 miles. If you're using a standard home 7 kilowatt wall box charger, it's going to take you about 7.5 hours to charge that smallest battery, 9.5 for the middle battery, and nearly 13 hours to charge the big battery. DC charging though is where the upgrades are. So if you pull that out, you can see the DC charger there. The 45 kilowatt hour unit can handle 110 kilowatt DC, taking 30 minutes to achieve 80%. The 58 kilowatt hour unit supports 120 kilowatt DC, so only takes 5 minutes longer. And the 77 kilowatt hour battery supports 125 kilowatt DC and clearly has a better curve, because it only takes 38 minutes to reach 80%. All Charge also have access to Volkswagen's WhichEV network, which now comprises 250,000 different charge points across multiple vendors across Europe. That also includes Ionity. Based on the WLTP rating, you're getting efficiency somewhere between 4.4 and 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty decent, although the larger the battery, the lower the efficiency. If the interior trim lacks a bit of luxury, another reason why the ID.3 feels a bit bare inside is that they've really pared down the controls and buttons. Although you do get a start-stop button, you can actually just start the car by pressing the brake pedal. Although the buttons are a bit cheap looking, there are more of them than on a Tesla and fewer than most German cars. They represent the main function you'd want to have specific buttons for. Overall, the steering wheel has a decently solid feeling, but the buttons on it again are a little bit cheap. The left hand side has all the buttons for the adaptive cruise, which is really easy to use. The right hand side has media controls, and one thing missing here is actually a button for pausing or muting. Really strange that you don't have that. The left hand stalk is for lights and indicators. And on the right hand side you have a control for the windscreen wipers, again a bit more than you have on a Tesla. This rotating knob on the side of the dashboard selects drive, and then there's B mode if you go one more up, and then reverse is this way, neutral's in the middle, and then park is this button on the end. This button on the dashboard lets you select between Eco, Comfort and Sport and an individual mode, and unlike some EVs we've tested, it actually stays in the mode you've selected after you turn the car off. There's a small 5.3-inch panel behind the steering wheel that makes no pretense towards mimicking traditional dashboard instrumentation, but the information is clear and functional. So when you're in navigation mode, you actually get a little symbol on the dashboard display which shows you what your next turning is. And we should also point out this symbol here is very good at showing you safe distances to the car in front. The Max and Tour trim levels also have a head-up display, but this version doesn't have it. So there's a separate button to call up climate control, and you'll notice that there are these buttons for discreetly changing the temperature. You can see that is changing the temperature. You'll notice also this is a dual zone climate control, which is only an option on some of the trim levels. This car has an option pack to have it. One thing that we did notice is that these buttons are actually not lit, so you can't see them in the dark, which is a little bit annoying because it's useful to have them, but not being able to see them when you're driving is a problem. You'll notice that most of the climate control functions are here on the touchscreen, but the fact that they all appear in a big format when you hit the climate button, which I'll do again, you know, you've got the heated steering wheel, heated seats, you can change everything up here, change the direction of the fans. Very easy to use climate control system. You'll also notice that there are these three functions. You've got Smart Climate, which lets you choose things via specific functions like defogging your windows, warming your feet, cooling your feet, fresh air, classic in the middle as we showed you earlier, and this air care function, which only works when the windows are closed, things like filters the air, you know, recirculation, that kind of thing. This is also slightly an odd function that, yes, you can direct the direction of the vents, but if you push it all the way across and it clicks, that actually completely closes the vent. All versions of the ID.3 get this 10-inch media and connected sat-nav display. You'll notice that it's slightly haptic, so it's things have appeared as my fingers have approached without me needing to touch things. However, it is a touch screen, and you can go through these functions. You know, there are these buttons. You know, I showed you getting to climate control, and then you can get to the assist functions with this button, which, you know, shows you the proximity for the car in front. This button is obviously the one for which I showed you earlier, for the different drive modes, and that brings up the parking camera, which is really good on this car. But let's go out of that and let's look at the rest of the menu. So this is the kind of standard native menu. You can go into the vehicle settings this way, showing you charging. You can look at nearby saved charge locations, other vehicle settings like you can scroll through here, brakes, window, and you can look at interior functions as well. Nice design, very easy to use. This gives you some data about your driving. We haven't been driving very economically. I blame the previous person driving this car. If I press this button on the side here and then press it again, I get to the full menu. You can connect a telephone. There's radio. I'm not going to press that, otherwise we'll get KISS, which is not my favorite radio station. Again, previous driver of this car. And then you got this, you can adapt the sound. This car doesn't have particularly great sound. There is an upgraded stereo version with one of the much more expensive trim levels with more speakers. This is fun for the kids to enjoy. You can change the look of the background if you want to feel a bit more euphoric. App Connect, there's a CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can actually have your smartphone screen on there as well. But if you don't want to use that, really nice sat nav, very easy to use. You can search via keyword here, which is very useful. Again, we've already been through that mode. There was a separate button for that. More settings. Car2X is something they talk about at VW. It allows the car to actually speak to other cars and devices on the road and kind of exchange information, and then the car will eventually take over the world and will all just be like in the Matrix. So this function is pretty useful. It allows you to actually set up the departure time for the aircon, so it can be nice and warm or nice and cool for when you want to actually go on your journey. And we mentioned this before. It's not going to call up right now, but this is the WhichCharge facility. It will allow you to actually find nearby WhichCharge locations, because obviously not all networks are available on WhichCharge. So pretty comprehensive and easy to use menu system. Although you get the immediate torque of an EV with the ID.3, it's not particularly fast in any of its forms. The Pro drivetrain takes 9.6 seconds to hit 62 miles per hour. The pure performance is only a little bit faster at 8.9 seconds. The Pro Performance like this is the only relatively quick one thanks to its 204 PS motor, hitting 62 miles per hour in 7.3 seconds. With the larger 77 kWh Pro S battery, this increases to 7.9 seconds thanks to the extra weight of that bigger battery. Mind you, with the rear wheel drive, this is still quite a fun car to drive, despite the 1.8 ton weight. Because the batteries are underneath the floor, this car still has a low centre of gravity, so it still feels really planted when you're going around corners. You sense the weight on fast, twisty roads, but there's still plenty of engagement. We really wish VW would hurry up with the dual motor version. The ID.3 feels really assured at motorway speeds as well, so you get a good balance between city, A-road and motorway driving. The ID.3 takes a leaf out of Korean car companies' books and is packed with safety tech as standard. We also like the fact that adaptive cruise and lane assist is available across all models, and implementation is excellent for both. There's city emergency braking and forward collision warning with pedestrian detection. Going up trim levels doesn't add a significant quantity of extra safety features. However, those front and rear parking sensors are augmented with a rear parking camera and a more sophisticated version with the Max and Tour versions. The prices for the various ID.3 models ranges from quite reasonable to a bit expensive. Insurance groups are pretty reasonable, however, starting at 23 for the Life and going up to 30 for the Pro S Tour. However, we should point out that at the time of making this video, only the Life was actually shown on VW's website, which we suspect is a supply issue. The warranty is typical for a German car. You get 3 years and 60,000 miles on the car itself. The battery has a typical 8-year, 100,000 mile, 70% capacity warranty. This car is a Pro Performance Life, but you can spec it out to other trim levels by adding option packs, but you're going to add a lot to the price. We will enter this ID.3 by Onto, which provides a very cost-effective way to drive it at £619 a month. But that includes insurance, maintenance, servicing, breakdown cover and 750 miles of charging, all within the same price. Cars are provided for BP Pulse, Interval and Shell Recharge. Let's take a look at that reversing camera, which this car has thanks to having the assistance pack option. So you can see it has a really good view, has some guidelines and a schematic showing where your car is going. It's worth bearing in mind that I think with the higher level version you actually get a 360 view of the car as well. The Volkswagen ID.3 now feels like one of the more mature cars on the market, now that we've had lots of new versions from Kia, Hyundai and BMW arriving, even though it's only been available for less than 2 years. It's a practical EV with decent amounts of space for passengers and cargo. It's great to drive and the Pro Performance is pretty quick too, although we really think the dual motor version of the ID.3 is long overdue. Although there is more and more choice for EVs arriving all the time, the ID.3 remains a practical and affordable choice for electric driving. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel.